We found some interesting use cases for AI over the past year. We're utilizing it from everything from creating in-system training to providing our new feature release documentation or our training guidance, all the way through to having it run tests in our system as we're releasing new features. So just analyzing, whether it's seeing any sort of inconsistencies or maybe even glitches that the human eye wouldn't catch, but that can be caught in the back end. And so, we're leveraging AI in a way that helps Fortress become more efficient, which ultimately allows us to produce more features, more code, and then release it to our customers a lot more quickly. We feel like the representative for the management company is that we love managing for affordable housing units. And it's something we do really well. It's something we specialize in. Affordable isn't a separate module for us. It's a part of our core DNA and our core architecture. And so that's a huge differentiator for us. And so I think, when we talk about who we are in the market and the fact that we're a startup and the fact that we're up against really steep competition and behemoths who have been around for a really long time, we just take a step back and focus on what we're really good at and the value that we know we bring to our customers. And so we're not for everyone. We're not going to try to win every deal. And we're going to really hone it into which customers, if they were to use Fortress, would see a dramatic improvement in the way that they run their business, and how can we be really great partners to those groups. And I think that's what makes us special, and that's what sets us apart, and that's what has us winning some deals away from the behemoths out there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's super nice. You may or may not know any info behind me, but I actually have a urban planning degree and a landscape architecture degree. So like when I hear folks investing their time and effort supporting, affordable housing opportunities, it's really almost like a community growth mindset, right? This is not necessarily a problem, but it's a challenge that every community faces, regardless of scale of city or location. And it's definitely out there for some disruption in the space. Who do you target to make sure that you're meeting that agenda of serving the people that you really want to help? What kind of businesses are the ones that are on your radar for your client list?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we are really strategic about it. So I would say that groups that are somewhere between 2 and 15,000 units, who are either owned and managed or third-party managed, doesn't really matter that much to us. And a large bulk part of their portfolio is affordable. And we do mean big affordable. So um, YTech, HUD, Home, RD, those are the programs that we really specialize in. Any sort of like local programming. We also handle like Section 8 vouchering really, really well. Any sort of walking voucher, actually. And we've just built a process for approving those sort of applications and certifications and managing the ledger that's tied to those things really well. So those are the groups that I think our message and our platform really speaks to. When they see the value in it and they see the things that we've improved over the legacy systems in those very specific lanes, they get really excited because they've been complaining and frustrated for a while now about how affordable seems to you just be told to deal with what there is available. Like, this is just what it is. It just, there's not a lot of money or intention behind a lot of the legacy affordable products. And so they get really excited when they see that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I actually got my start in real estate 13 years ago with a group that was in the first stages of developing LIHTC and doing a few 4% LIHTC conversions. And so I was very lucky to really get my feet wet in multifamily through affordable housing, and I've just loved it, and it's been a passion of mine since day one. But I'm also like you. I'm very civil servant minded. I actually was in the Army for a while, worked for the Department of State in Iraq for a little bit of time too. I feel compelled to give back to the communities that I'm lucky enough to be a part of.
Awesome. Definitely challenges though, right?
Yeah.
multifamily development certainly is a game of profit, and affordable is a component that can be an also ran as opposed to a focus for a lot of the folks. But I don't know. We work with a bunch of the bigger REITs around the country, like the equity residentials and Mill Creeks and stuff are kind of on our radar. How do you sort of approach folks like that maybe it isn't their primary focus, but they do have a lot of units in play, and you can make a difference, servicing that part of their portfolio as well as the rest of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, it's taken a lot of discipline to a lot of forced discipline to get to the answer that I'm about to give you, because before I would have told you that we would find a way to make it work. But I'll tell you that today we would just say that's just not our ideal customer. Like any customer who's that big, who has that many different focuses, that's not an ideal customer for us today. Now, they probably will be 3 to 5 years from now. But, we've learned that the more quickly we identify what is and isn't within our target and where we're going to be successful, and the more quickly, honestly, that we just say no to whatever it is, whether it's an integration partner or this, really loud, squeaky customer over here, or whatever it is, like the quicker we can say no to things that we shouldn't be spending our time on, then the more we are actually spending our time on the things that we really should be focusing on where we can be successful.
Super hard to do.
Very
Definitely. All right. So we're narrowing in on your best targets for customers. Talked a little bit about, that ledger management issue. That's something that's important to them. What are some of the other features that you offer to them on the platform that makes you guys gold compared to everybody else?
Yeah. One of our most loved features is the ability to manage the certification approval process. And I mean the affordable certification process for a household, and managing that process all within one system. So automation around workflows on, when X happens, then Y, then Z, and moving that whole certification through the process in a really streamlined way so that you're eliminating the amount of vacancy loss on a property by days. And you're able to approve a certification and approve a household for move-in in an affordable property very quickly. And not only are you, reducing vacancy loss is obviously one of the owner's goalposts, but for us, it's that person has a home to move into more quickly than he or she otherwise would. And so that's absolutely one of our most prized features. It's a feature that doesn't really exist in any other system in the way that we've built it. And so we're really proud of that. And then I would also say the fact that we work with a lot of groups who are still piecemealing the products from our competitors. And, each additional piece is an additional, 50 cents or dollar per unit or whatever it is. And so sometimes they end up with a bit of a Frankenstein situation. They may not have the solutions that they need. And let's be very clear. We are in 2025. In order to manage a multifamily asset, you absolutely need a resident portal. Your residents need the ability to make payments online. They need the ability to create work orders. Your on-site team needs the ability to pull up an app and manage those work orders and manage other data about the property. You need to be able to text your residents and email them in system. You need to have automations around texting and emailing. And I think so many people don't have those things because they're not a part of the core system, and then they can't afford the additional add-ons. And so adding all those things in, looking at, what does it take? What features do you need to run a company today? And making sure that we have those inside of the core system is just a huge improvement to a lot of our customers. And then doing that with very straightforward pricing. So we're not a, plus 50 cents, plus 25 cents, $20 an application screening. We don't do any of that. It's a very basic one number. This is what you pay per unit per month. You don't need to go through a 60-day exercise to figure out what your bill is with us. So I think we just look at it a little bit differently from a partnership perspective, not necessarily a client perspective.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just thinking like all the different parts and pieces that are moving around in there. How do you sort of handle, so if you're talking to the client, or your clients are now able to use the platform, they're able to communicate with their tenants. tenants, obviously, communication is going to be related to, um, things they have to do to maintain their tenant status, things that they need to make sure that they're happy, and ways to communicate problems that are existing within their lives within the property. What kind of vendor relationship sort of management do you guys bring through the platform? Is that something that you look at, or is it something that you let the owners take care of and you just kind of relay the messaging?
Oh, yeah. So, in our system, residents absolutely have the ability to have a voice. So whether they're, working through their research process for their affordable certification to live in an affordable asset, or just their lease renewal process in a conventional asset, or dealing with complaints or work orders, or even just needing the code so that they can make a payment at like a walk-in, like WIPS payment facility, for like a MoneyGram. They need to be able to communicate. And so all of that data and all of those communications are housed inside of Fortress. And some of it responded to with AI, and some of the teams are responding to some of that data. But yeah, we manage all of that inside of Fortress. And I think we think about that a lot, that Fortress's client isn't just the property management company that signs the contract with us, but we actually see the extension of it, that our client's client is just as important. And so, like, how does the resident feel when they're experiencing Fortress, and that's how they're going to feel about their property. So we definitely think about that, and I think that in terms of vendor management outside of that, we do have the ability to dispatch work orders to vendors who may come in and resolve some of those work orders and those issues, but we're not managing the vendors from an accounting standpoint. So this is another big differentiator for us, for Fortress. I actually got my start in the real estate industry because I was an accountant and an attorney, and I was focused on all the back of house operations, including setting up a whole finance division. And, I was frustrated from day one when I was in the property management software, and realized that real estate had all these bespoke kind of built-in accounting systems. I'd never seen that before. I'd been an accountant in many different industries, and we'd always used the same kind of core four accounting platforms, right? I mean, you have like Sage Intacct and Oracle's NetSuite and Dynamics and JD Edwards. Like, you're using one of those platforms. But yeah, in property management, we were using these bespoke built-in solutions, and I was really kind of floored. So when we decided to build Fortress, I knew from day one we weren't building an accounting system. We were just going to integrate with the big four. That way, real estate companies could choose what accounting software they wanted to use, and they could utilize one of the more robust accounting platforms that they could then extend to use for all of their other real estate management and all their other real estate holdings. And so it just makes so much sense for them. So when it comes to that level of vendor management, we leave that to the experts. And again, we stay in our lane and focus on and say yes to things that we know we can be really successful at.
Staying in your lane probably still means you're collecting a ton of data, though, right?
Yeah.
And it's I've noted that you said that two of your favorite topics are data and tech, and you also dropped a little AI bomb in there in your response to the last one. What are you guys doing when you're, how are you looking at the data that you're collecting, and how are you using that to sort of model out the potential future of what you guys are planning for Fortress?
Oh, that's such a good question. And, the term data for a tech company has a lot of different meanings. And when you ask, how are you using the data to model what Fortress looks like long term for success, one really great way that we manage the data is through out monitoring the actual usage of the system. So, where are our customers? Where are our clients using Fortress the most? Like, where are they getting stuck? Where are they rage clicking? Like, where do they seem to be gaining the most information and using the system in a really productive way? And in what areas do we see them maybe even trying to bypass the system or shortcut it? And how do we fix that? And then providing a lot of that information back to the customer. So we're taking that data and we're analyzing it, and then we're producing results that then the customer has now the ability to fix things themselves. So, if they were rage clicking here, now they don't anymore because we put a button there, we fixed the situation, we've given them instructions, whatever it is. So We're also really big on sharing data with our customers where we see that there are areas of opportunity. So if we're actually in the system and we see that things are you are or aren't working for the on-site teams, and surfacing like trends and that sort of data. So I would say, for us, first and foremost, we're levering and we're considering data on how Fortress becomes more successful. That's really the first thing for us. And then the second layer is, how are we helping our clients abstract their data in a way that they are using it to be more successful? And whether that means that we're surfacing more KPIs inside of Fortress or building custom reporting, or we're sending their data to, one of the industry's top business intelligence solutions like Reba, or whether we are sending their data directly into their own data warehousing like Snowflake. We do want to make sure that we're getting the data where it needs to go for our customers to be successful. And I can say that, that's a priority for us. Like, as far as we are concerned, if our customers are successful, then we'll be successful. So we're not nickel and diming that data. We're openly sharing it in the format that our customers would prefer it in.
That seems like that philosophy of staying open on the back end so that your clients can plug in whatever resources they need for the tools that you provide them is kind of an overreaching statement, right? It's not just about letting them plug in their own software. It's about sharing the data with them so they can sort of come up with their own conclusions and figure out how to run their business better. Yeah. What's you mentioned that sort of AI piece, since it's the hot topic of the day. What are you guys using? How are you using AI to sort of go through your data and sort of represent it in a usable format for everybody that's a little bit more friendly?
Yeah. We found some interesting use cases for AI over the past year. We're utilizing it from everything from creating in-system training to providing our new feature release documentation or our like training guidance, all the way through to having it run tests in our system as we're releasing new features. So just analyzing, whether it's seeing any sort of inconsistencies or maybe even glitches that like the human eye wouldn't catch, but that can be caught in the back end. And so, we're leveraging AI in a way that helps Fortress become more efficient, which ultimately allows us to produce more features, more code, and then release it to our customers a lot more quickly. And so I would say for anyone who, is in the tech world, they know that there's a lot happening right now, even with AI being able to write code. And one engineer could triple his or her efficiency by leveraging it. But there's a lot of other really cool tools out there that are doing some unique things like the testing. So we're leaning into that really heavily. And then, of course, we're thinking about how AI plays a larger role inside of the Fortress product. Things like automatically responding to those resident complaints, or if a resident, messages in and says that they think something's windows broken in their apartment, and we can ask a few more questions, then automatically create a work order through AI, those sorts of things. But even taking it a step further and leveraging AI to do things like review that certification packet that we were talking about. So that certification file that has to get from the applicant, from the leasing agent, through to the compliance department and be approved so someone can move in. But having AI that's reviewing that file all the way along and providing guidance and recommendations to the users on what they need to do next in order to progress that file and how they can get it closed so that someone can move in. Those are the things that we're working on today. And it's very exciting, I will say. AI is a little bit outside of my pay grade. Luckily, I have a phenomenal CTO who guides me on this quite a bit. And we're leveraging some other industry professionals who really understand this world and just trying to figure it out. I have to tell you, though, the tech is changing so quickly that I'm pretty glad that we're kind of at the early stages of it, so we can let a little bit of it play out before we see exactly, which LLM we want to hitch our wagon to for our front end AI experience. Oh, Kevin, you're muted. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you.
Sorry, there's some background noise. Moving fast is certainly an understatement right now when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though because for me, anyways, is over the past, let's call it 6 months, I think the jump has been immense, right? So not only so many new products onto the market, but just how um, much more efficient, how much more accurate, how much more available and sort of user friendly some of the interfaces have become. It's clear that I think it's kind of ready to have its shining moment. So it's great to hear that you guys are looking to implement it in different ways across the business model, not just those. Ask some chat GPT questions and see what kind of responses you get, right? Um, so tell me a little bit about um, where you guys are at right now, like what market you're in. Are you kind of geographically specific to one part of the country right now and looking to grow outside of that? Are you across the country just looking at a certain scale of community and sort of community owner that you're looking at? And then, what's your plan sort of moving forward? How are you going to get to the next step?
Yeah. So right now we are across the United States. We're in the majority of states. I don't know that we have properties in every single state, but we're pretty close. And we are at about 100,000 units, and that's almost doubled in about 2 years. And we are, really looking to continue to support the affordable owners and operators. So, those groups that are in that 2 to 20,000 units that are, um, you know, 2 to 20,000 units that are managing and working through the complexities of LIHTC and HUD and home and RD. And that's where we think we really shine and bring extreme efficiencies to our customers. So our goal, and when you look at the total market, there's probably somewhere around 6 to 7 million units of big A affordable in the United States. And so our goal would be to really become the best in class solution for those affordable units. And I say Entrada did such a phenomenal job of this with their student housing product, right? They got into the market and they were the experts in student housing. And so they really got in there and dominated that market, and it went so well for them. And that's really what we're wanting to do with affordable. And we see that path. And so, our goal long term would be in the next 5 years to beat 1 million units of affordable on Fortress. And honestly, the way that we're going to get there is by making sure that we have that focus, that we're saying that we have the discipline to say no, that we know what we're focused on, and that we're intentional with that. And then the second thing, that we have the right people and the right processes. That's it. It is for us, and all the success that Fortress has seen, it has always come down to the people and the process. And if you have the right people in the right positions, and those people are incentivized and focused on the right processes, then we'll create success and we'll get there.
How are you finding, your new clients? How are you reaching out to those 2 to 15, 20,000 unit owners? You got a team in place? Are you doing a blanket, LinkedIn outreach? What's going on right now that you're reaching out to those folks?
Well, this actually goes back to the first thing you and I started chatting about when we hopped on the Zoom call, which was pre-podcast starting. But I will reference it, which is the thing that I joined, and we were just chatting about my travel, and I was bitching about Vegas. So yeah, the conferences where a lot of our contacts come from, and just honestly, good old fashioned like hardcore BDR efforts. So our business development team, huge shout out to one member of my team, Kendall. She's absolutely amazing at what she does. And here's the cold calling and repetitive motion of making sure that the groups that we're targeting see our name and see it a lot, so that when they reach a point of frustration or they're ready to potentially look at other solutions, that they think about us, and that they schedule that meeting with us. So yeah, conferences and just outbound through our BDR team. And honestly, it's been pretty effective. But we also haven't taken any external like capital. We don't have any venture growth equity behind us. So honestly, we're allowed to kind of grow at our own pace. So it can be a little organic, and we're identifying the right customers for us. We are very intentional about not spending 80% of our time on 20% of our customers. So the way to do that is to make sure that you only bring on the right customers, and that you vet them as much as they're vetting you, which is really nice.
This is good. This is actually a really nice conversation. I think we hit a lot of the points that we were talking about before. If you had a piece of closing advice for everybody, what would it be? And who are you targeting for that?
Yeah. So, oh gosh, that's such an interesting question. So, because I'm like, well, who should I target for this? And my sales team would tell me. My sales team would tell me that I should target anyone out there who's listening who might be considering swapping their core system. And I would say the first question, and this probably ties back to the advice that I would give if I weren't thinking about my sales team, but like the piece of advice I would give is like, is your core system, do they feel like a partner? Like it's a huge part of your business. It's like any sales company leveraging Salesforce. Like Salesforce is like the engine behind your company. And so when you apply that logic to the core system that you're using today, does it feel like that engine is truly a part of your company? Does it feel like you have a true partnership with them? And if you don't, then I would say, start looking around and try to find that partnership. But I'd say, if I were giving more broad advice, or just what I've learned over the past few years, and this would go to anyone, any entrepreneur, any employee, everyone, it's that first and foremost, it's all about the people, like the people that you work with, the partnerships that you make, and making sure that the right people are in the right places to create success. And so I think at the end of the day, the two pieces of advice are probably the same, that like if you surround yourself with the right people, and that those people are motivated correctly, in the right positions, that you can create any untold success. Anything's possible.
All right. Good parting words. I like it. Kerri Davis, I'll end with our last of our three initial talking points of gratitude. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate the fact that you were like, sure, I'll hop on the call with this guy. I have no idea who he is. That has actually been very fun for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Plus Partners, another episode. We're out.